Yo, can I get a Zappa, please? Thank you. Can I get a beer, please? Can you guys hear me down there? Sorry, can I get a Zappa, please?
Okay.
No. Christ.
I'm Jesse McNew. I'm one of the owners here at Cult Classic Brewing.
I'm Rohry Flood. I am one of the humans here at Cult Classic Brewing.
Right here.
We're at 1169 Shopping Center Road in Stevensville, Maryland, located on the gorgeous sunny island of Kent.
Well, we started the project in about 2015. And we signed our lease here in July of 2017. And construction started that late fall, early winter. And we actually opened our doors in August of 2018.
After they had signed the lease, I came in with the demolition crew and we started right over there in the corner tearing down the bakery. So I've been with the brewery since we started beating up blocks, but more officially I came on board around Thanksgiving of 2018 after I got the food truck up and running out front. And I'm pointing at that, but that means nothing to the people watching.
Yes, we ask ourselves that quite often. Not sure I have a good answer for you yet, but my brother and I had considered opening a brewery back in the 90s. We were, I was 6, he was 8 years old, and we were both home brewers at the time. We may have been a little older than that, but not much. And we had opened a homebrew shop, and we had considered opening a brewery, but Maryland wasn't quite ready for small breweries yet. The laws for distribution weren't quite there. You couldn't have your own tap room, so we decided to hold off. We expanded our homebrew shop, and we ran that for about 20 years until we felt like the state was ready for what we wanted to do with a brewery.
So I started drinking at the age of 18, and I legally started drinking at the age of 21, at which point I'd already been to a number of breweries. I went to school to work in college and be a professor, and after I had done that for a good chunk of time, I lost all patience for the 18 to 21-year-old crowd, and I decided I would go 21 plus, and so I worked with another large brewery in the state, but they branded me and made me do a bunch of, awful things, and it was really tough to work there. And so I scaled back and decided to come here and open Cult Classic with these gentlemen because I had a lot of faith in the project and I loved the location. I mean, when Rick first reached out to us, just the level of detail that you guys had already put into the festival, the ideas, the plan, the layout, the people who were going to benefit from it, going all Maryland Eastern Shore, the number of connections you had with local brewers, it made sense to be a part of it. It would be really silly to brew beer on the Eastern Shore of Maryland and not be a part of this festival, which is obviously to highlight all of the great breweries right here on the shore.
Agreed. Agreed.
Thank you.
It's usually whatever's out of date, and is that right? Is that how we do it?
I think what we'll probably end up doing is maybe having a small committee decide which of our most popular beers have to be at the event, because right now I think 3 of our most popular beers that we're pouring are the Strawberry Blonde, which was supposed to be a seasonal when we opened and has been our #1 seller since the day we opened the doors. The Zappa IPA that we released just before Thanksgiving for our Thanksgiving event was, and it still is, massively popular. And our Juicy Mosaic Burst, soon to be called Tarantula, is also one of our top sellers. So
spoiler alert.
tough to decide. Definitely going to be an IPA up there because these guys do IPAs really well.
Oh yeah. We're working on some collaborations. There's always talk of collaborations, and then sometimes when the beer wears off, you lose track of that. But we are working on some collaborations.
Yeah, we bring a stenographer with us now whenever we have collaboration conversations, just so that we don't lose anything.
That's helpful. Well, Kent Island is it's an interesting part of Maryland because it's sort of the gateway to the Eastern Shore. So you have Annapolis, you have Baltimore, you have DC on the western side, and you go over the bay, across the Bay Bridge, and you land on Kent Island. So for a lot of people, their impression of Kent Island is it's the first place that they reach on their way to vacation, on their way to the beach, on their way to go camping, things like that. So for a lot of people, Kent Island is it's a happy place. It's also very different from the Western Shore. This is where Maryland kind of gets flat. There's water all around, so there's all kinds of boating, crabbing, fishing, all kinds of recreation having to do with the water. So it's a happy place. It's a fun place.
On top of that, no, I think you summed it up. That was, man, that might be on the Visit Maryland video.
Hey, yeah.
When I first come across the bridge, I typically swing down to Noxie's at Chesapeake Bay Beach Club. They have all Maryland beers on tap, or all Eastern Shore local beers on tap. A lot of great local Eastern Shore liquor. Most of my stops involve alcohol, so I will also stop at Blackwater Distilling, very good friends of ours. They have an incredible tap list. A couple of ours are on tap, I think. Is that a shameless promotion? And then, and a lot of other great Maryland breweries and Eastern Shore breweries are on tap over there, but their liquor is great. They have the Sloop Betty brand vodka, which is very popular around here, and they also have some other delicious treats that we like, including a White Russian on tap they do with a cold brew coffee and their coffee liqueur. Man, additionally,
if you keep going, you get to Bull and Goat in Centerville. They are a fun little brewery.
I love that Saison, and they have a fun little food menu too.
Yeah, some games, shuffleboard, darts. Good little place. Your favorite farm brewery?
Of course, yeah. No trip or no Sunday would be complete without a trip to Patriot Acres Farm Brewing, where Brian and Shauna take care of us every weekend. A lot of great restaurants around here. A lot of fun people. It's a small community. We don't do the big box stores. We don't have a lot of chain stuff unless it's like a chain grocery store or a chain gas station. So most of the businesses around here are locally owned. The person whose name is on the liquor license. You usually get to meet the chef within the first couple trips you visit. It's a very small, tight-knit community with a lot of really fun people who like to have a great time after they're done with a hard day's work.
Anyone from history? Oh, that's a good one. I don't know. I mean, there's so many interesting people around now, but I think we were talking about this off camera. We're all a lot of fans of British comedy around here, and just to sit down with John Cleese, who's still around if he's watching this. Love to sit down and have a beer with John Cleese.
Do you think we should put like a John Cleese bar stool in place with like a gold label?
We could do that.
So anytime he walks in, we can kick him out over in the seat. That'd be good. We should do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I could have a drink with anybody in history, I would stick with American history, and I would go with Benjamin Franklin. He created a lot, invented a lot, defined a lot of the systems that we have in place today, not specifically here in the brewery, but in the good old US of A, and I hear he was a bit of a ladies' man, so I'm sure he's got some pretty good stories to tell. So I would really enjoy cutting up, having a beer, and maybe flying a kite with Ben Franklin.
Is flying a kite a euphemism?
Yes. Oh, never mind.
Mine, of the beers we have on tap all the time, would be the Juicy Mosaic, soon to be called Tarantula. When distribution starts, we have a new label out for that one. That is my favorite. So now you can't pick that one. Yep.
That's okay, because mine isn't on the tap list. Mine is a cheat code that somebody invented I don't know, probably on like the third day that we had them on tap, when somebody mixed our Strawberry Blonde and our Juicy Mosaic together. And at the time it was a Strazy, which I think legally, I'm sure some conglomerate owns that title, which is why we aren't allowed to use it. But we were calling it a Strazy IPA, bleep that out. And so we were mixing strawberry and hazy, so it was a Strazy IPA. We still call it Strazy because juicy or juiceberry doesn't sound as cool. Yeah.
Eastern Shore.
Ooh.
Eastern Shore.
All right, I'll go first because I got one.
Sure.
I am not a coffee drinker. I tried to be a coffee drinker a couple times over the last few years, but the one place I love coffee is in my beer. So coffee beers are my go-to every single time I see them on tap anywhere. And Evo, or Evolution, out of Salisbury did a Rise Up Coffee Stout years ago, and it's hard to find on tap these days, but anywhere I see it, I stock up on it.
So I will go with something else, and I'm bad at this because it tends to be my favorite recent one. Nanticoke Nectar, that's always a staple from RAR. We had a lot of that when we were under construction here. I think we went through a few kegs of it while we were under construction. Daily, I'm a big IPA drinker, but I love a good Czech Pilsner. Always been a big fan, but made that part of my honeymoon. We visited Pilsen, stayed in the Czech Republic, and had 2 weeks worth of all the Czech Pilsner I could possibly drink.
I am a IPA guy. Specifically, I really appreciate citrus, either citrus fruit, citrus juice, whatever form, like an orange. An orange IPA is what I live for, because you can drink it for breakfast, you can drink it for lunch, you can drink it for dinner, you can have it, that beer you have on your nightstand right before you go to bed, and also it can even get warm most of the time. It can be the beer you have first thing in the morning if there was any left over when you start over again. So citrus IPAs.
There you go. Least favorite style. You're not supposed to say you don't like sours.
Bro.
So I can't put that on.
Bro.
I can't put that out there.
Yeah.
I'll lose my license if I do that. So sours.
Man, I would say anytime somebody starts to use the words quadruple, quintuple, sextuple, septuple, octuple, when they get into that number of things, I have a real problem with it. I feel like it's a bit overkill, so that's my least favorite style. Or if I really had to go back, a triple bock has never ever worked for me. So.
I think IPAs will always be popular. I think they're just a staple. But what was popular back in the 90s when we had our homebrew shop was the British ales. Pale ales, ESBs, porters, anything British was the way to go. And more people were drinking imports than microbrews back then. And I have seen a little bit of a return to that. I've seen porters becoming more popular. And not just porters, but porters that don't have a bunch of descriptors before that. You know, it's not a vanilla raspberry coffee porter, it's a porter.
Sounds pretty good.
Bitters, ESBs. I think we're going to see a little bit of a comeback of those British styles.
Oh, I definitely predict 2020 to be the year of fireball infused beer styles. I think just cinnamon whiskey infused beer. I don't know, the TTB, the FDA, the CIA, they're all probably going to get together and say it's A-OK.
Yeah, you're giving up all our secrets here. That's a good question. I mean, so my brother and I had been running a homebrew shop for 20 years. We could still be doing that, I'm sure. The industry has changed a lot. So with a lot of the online stuff, which we were part of, but there's now kind of mega online stores, and that like anything, made it difficult to compete. But what worked out, really well is doing a lot of events. So teaching people how to brew, having competitions, things like that, where you're more a part of what those people are actually doing day to day in their brewing, rather than just selling them what they need to make their beer. That I can imagine being more involved with that.
If I wasn't here, I'd probably go back to dancing and being an adult male escort. It's good money, and I still got the body for it.
It's
so
good at it. It's good at it.
I'd stick with it.
Well, I mean, the biggest hurdle, everybody's going to say that it's raising the funds to do it, which is certainly a big hurdle, but that's expected. I think the biggest hurdle that I didn't expect would be how much time you're spending waiting to be able to do the next thing. So waiting for a permit, waiting for an inspection, where you literally just put on the brakes and you cannot do anything. And that's really tough when you walk in and you say, I need to do this, I need to do that, and you literally cannot do anything. That's tough. Having had a business in another part of the state, not too far from here, but I think the biggest thing was how much people took interest in the project. Not just beer, fellow beer geeks, but just locals around here, always stopping by, seeing what we're doing, wanting to know what's going on, wanting to know when we're going to open, wishing us the best. That was something I just didn't really experience in my other endeavors.
I would say the biggest hurdle from my point of view when we were getting everything up and running leading up to the grand opening was acquiring and funding the amount of beer that we consumed during the process of renovating the space. What seemed like, if you have a case of beer at home, it might take you a week or two to go through, even if you have friends over. Those were kind of daily. And so then when we realized you were going through a case of beer a day with a construction crew celebrating your efforts, and there was a ton of people here working, whether or not they were on the payroll or not. That was a surprise. And then the most pleasant surprise for me was honestly, so thank you, Queen Anne's County.
All right, Rory.
Yeah, I would say the brewing industry, especially over here on the Eastern Shore with some of the breweries we mentioned earlier with our friends at Bull and Goat, RAR, Patriot Acres, Evo, and all the other places we've been to. I love the camaraderie, the friendship, and the willingness to share among all the different owners of the breweries, the people who work there. I love that it's also kind of built a tourism-based, oh, look at that, thank you. No. I love the economy it's built, and I love the way it's helped people kind of travel and see the United States, and I'm sure beyond. But I love that when people come here to talk to us and try our beer, they tell us about the last 2-3 breweries they went to and the next 2 or 3 they're going to. And it's really cool to share those experiences because we've been to all the ones that they've been to and they're going to. And we can say, oh, hey, talk to so-and-so, or check out this beer, or make sure you try this food when you go to that pub sort of deal. It's kind of its own little universe of people who really love and appreciate great beer. And I think we do it really well here on the Eastern Shore.
I agree with everything Rory said. It is a fantastic community. Even though we're spread out, we're not as close together as breweries are in Baltimore or Frederick or DC or something like that. We all get along. We all hang out at each other's places, and that is definitely. It's helpful, you get to share experiences with the other breweries. You each know each other's hardships, each other's successes, and that definitely helps out.
Keeps you motivated too.
Keeps you going, get some new things going on, work together on some projects, which we have some in mind. As far as the industry, I think Maryland hopefully is headed in the right direction. I think there's been a lot of steps forward in Maryland in the last few years, last decade. We have close to 100 breweries now, which sounds like a lot. A lot of the neighboring states are outdoing us, but I think we're starting to catch up with that. We have a little bit of a way to go to help smooth things out, but I think things are moving in the right direction.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Are you ready for a beer? This is a slightly used Zappa if you want.
It's slightly used.